Welcome back to the show. I'm so excited about this next segment. In her debut cookbook, acclaimed chef Angela Dimayuga shares her passion for food in Filipinx, heritage recipes from the diaspora.
She joins us from Los Angeles to share how she's put a fresh spin on family recipes and classic dishes from the Philippines. Welcome to the show, Angela.
Hey, what's up, Canada? Nice to see you. Nice to be on. It's 10:30 a.m. and it's really nice to see some cool women on TV to be together with.
Well, clearly we are in the presence of someone very cool with that look and especially that T-shirt. So shout out to that. We're going to dive into your book because this is really, really exciting. You have gone back into your own family heritage and history, and you are revisiting 100 deeply personal recipes inspired by your family's very own home cooking. So why was this an important journey for you to undertake right now?
You know, I've been thinking so much about my connection to being Filipino as a first generation American. And, the pandemic really allowed us to be inside of ourselves and think about who we are. So I feel really blessed that I got to do this project, honor my grandmother, honor my heritage cuisine, and then think about how I can contribute to it as well with dishes that I've made up on my own as well.
And I love this part of it as well, is that the title is a nod to your multicultural upbringing. So can you share how you came up with the title?
Yeah, first off, I want to be really specific and say that this is from my point of view of someone that grew up in the Bay Area. I have been around, San Jose specifically is 30% Asian and 30% Mexican. So I found myself residing in what I call like a brown culture. So the Latinx community was really close to us. It's really important for me to think about the gender neutrality of utilizing the X. And so it's very specific to my upbringing. And I think as a unifier in a way. It's specific to how I was raised. And I think storytelling from that unique POV is really important to share culture.
So these recipes, they put a fresh spin on classic Filipinx dishes and sauces. What are some of the main characteristics of Filipinx food, and what was the process like to rediscover these recipes in this new way?
Yeah, it was really heartwarming. It was transportive to childhood experiences. It made me think of how we ate, and that was I come from a big family, and so we ate in a way that it felt really abundant. The flavors of Filipino food is the same, where it's meant to feed a lot of people. We think about preservation methods of why we season certain things. So I think one thing that's unique about Filipino food is the use of acids. So lots of citrus, lots of vinegars, and these are preservation methods. And so that makes boldly flavored food that is meant to be eaten with lots of rice. So that stretches and you can feed lots of people.
We're going to get to rice in a second, but we're actually going to begin with something called rice coffee. It's a drink that we're going to start off with. And you said you discovered this drink while traveling, but realized it's actually also made in the Philippines. So what is it?
Yeah, so it's called rice coffee, and I love toasted green tea of any sort. There's barley tea, corn teas, but if you roast the tea to a really dark color, I learned with my co-writer that rice coffee was prevalent in the Philippines as a substitute for coffee when it wasn't available. So it has a really nice color and is really toasty. You can have it with milk, but it gives a really great substitute if you're not looking for caffeine as well.
Is there a certain type of rice you need to make it?
I think that you can use, for me, I think you can use anything. I love to use multiple grains in my rice and use what you have. I think that's what's really fun about the versatility of this drink in particular.
Okay, so moving on, the next dish was inspired by a family member who has a special cooking technique that you wanted to share. So what makes Tito LP's Tortang talong unique?
So my mom liked to cook her version with ground beef and cook it till it was nice and crispy. I love the technique of just charring eggplant just to this kind of like, fully blackened. I think it's really versatile in any type of cuisine, but you can cook it anywhere, really. It's traditionally made over coals, but you can make it in like your New York City apartment on electric stove. I charred mine today on just a gas burner. And basically, you take it to a point where the insides are super creamy. You pull off all the charred flesh. It has this really nice, deep flavor. And he seasoned his with fish sauce, and that gave a really beautiful depth of flavor. It reminds me of Italian food. We use very little ingredients. The variation amongst different families is proportion, time, temperature. And I loved his because it has this nuance of flavor from the fish sauce. And then I like to cook my eggs pretty soft and light. So my version is just simply cooked till the eggs are just tender, and you have like a really beautiful texture there.
As you mentioned, the variation from family to family is it can be subtle, but also within each family. So your mother in the cookbook, you say, makes it a different way?
Yeah, so she likes her eggs crispy and brown, and she sometimes adds meat. And so that simple technique of cooking it slower and lighter makes the difference. The meat almost becomes a seasoning as well. And here we use just fish sauce. So it's a nice pescatarian option for those that are avoiding red meat.
So you write a lot that cooking can be a multi-sensorial experience, and you write in the book that that there is a particular scent in this dish that takes you right back to your childhood. I think a lot of us can understand that. So what is the special ingredient for you?
In this dish, it really is the flavor of the char with a tender egg. And what I really love about food is, in general, how it's so emotional. It brings you to a certain time in your life. It helps you connect with people. And so something like simply like this charred eggplant with like the tenderness of the egg and like the fragrance of a light splash of fish sauce, I feel like brings me to a place where I'm eating like this type of special omelet with my siblings, watching TV at home, cross-legged on the floor. So it really helps with storytelling when you think about smells and your memories in relationship to smell.
Nostalgia seems to be the theme of our show. We're just talking about music nostalgia, and this is all kinds of food nostalgia. Now, the last dish that you've prepared is one that your family would also often make for a larger party. So our viewers will want to bookmark this when it's safe to get together and invite people over. How do you make lumpia Shanghai?
So this is a version of we think about our connection to culture in China. So we have a lot of relationship to shared ingredients. And, I have some here. This is something that I would have after school sometimes or for big parties because you would roll them in advance and freeze them. But the difference between our version of like this egg roll lumpia is that it's a cigarillo. So it's like nice and crispy. The proportion to the filling to the wrapper is really super crispy. And that's the first thing to go at a buffet. So our food is served bountifully. Once it comes out of the fryer, it's gone. And if you're there and lucky and early enough, then you get to participate in having this snack.
Oh my gosh, lumpia for the win. I'm so glad we ended there. Angela, I am just salivating all of this. I'm going back to my childhood as well with all of these dishes. Thank you so much for sharing these dishes with us. And we want to tell everybody who's watching, go to our social media pages after the show. We'll get all the recipes there for you. Angela, thank you so much from the West Coast.
Thanks so much.
After this.